with Pluralsight. This module is using the powerful spread operator. What we're going to do in this particular module is demonstrate the power of spread. We'll use it to copy and concatenate arrays. We'll pass parameters to constructors. We'll perform shallow copy on objects. And we'll call functions with multiple parameters, all using spread. Let's get started. The spread operator expands any iterable object such as a string or an array into another array. It also can be used for passing multiple arguments to a method. The syntax for spread uses the ellipsis symbol, or 3 dots. It's always on the right-hand side of an equal sign. And I want you to note, currently IE and Edge do not support the spread operator. Well, let's take a look at our first example of using spread by converting a string to an array. As we learned earlier in this class, a string is an iterable object because it's really just an array of characters. If we have a string, like on line 17, what we can do on line 19 is we can say let values equal to ... product number within square brackets. As you know, a square bracket represents an array. The spread operator iterates over that string and creates a single character out of each value and puts it into the values variable. Let's go ahead and run this. And there you can see the value comes out now into an array, right? So we took the string and converted it into an array using the spread operator. Another use of the spread operator is to copy an array, and let's take a look at how that works. This function, copyArray, on line 17, I create an array and assign it the values 1, 2, and 3 into that array. On line 18, I let ARR2 equal to ... and then the expression. The expression is this variable ARR. What that does is it automatically spreads those elements into the new array. We normally would use the slice method, by the way, to copy an array. On line 21 then, I'm going to show you that this actually, since these are primitive values in the array elements, if we make a change to the duplicated array, nothing changes in the original. So we're going to push a new value onto array 2. We're going to change the first value in array 2, and then we'll spit out both the original array and the duplicated array. So there we see the original array has not changed. The duplicated array, I modified the first element and I pushed a new value onto the last element of that array. When copying arrays with primitive values in it, it's fine, but let's take a look at what happens when we copy arrays with objects in each element. On line 15, I'm saying let _products equal to an array, and each element of the array now is a literal object, a product object, and you can see I have 3 elements in here. I then have this function, copyObjectArrays. And inside of here, on line 45, I let diff equal to ... _products. So this creates a copy, but since each one is an object, it's actually not copying the objects themselves, it's just copying the pointer to where that object is in memory. On line 48, I'm going to show this by doing diff subscript0.productID is equal to 999. If we then on lines 50 and 51 spit out the original product ID from _product subscript 0 and diff subscript0.productID, we see that we change the new one, we're actually changing the original because they're objects, and objects are not copied by value, they're copied by reference. Another good use of the spread operator is to concatenate 2 arrays together. Let's take a look at how this works. I have the same product array that we saw last time, plus I have another array called new products where I've added a couple of additional ones. And then here is our concatenate array. So on line 62, let all products equal to underscore products dot concat underscore new products. So this is the original way of doing it in JavaScript. And we can then print out the all products dot length, and we'll see that it now has 5 objects in there. The new way to do it with the spread operator on line 65 is let sp products equal to dot 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 underscore products, comma, dot 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 underscore new products. So what it's doing is it's taking the original products and expanding it. Then it's taking the underscore new products and expanding that. And again, we end up then with a large array. So you see that both of these work. One doing the original concat method in JavaScript, the other using spread. We can also use the spread to help us build objects where we pass in multiple values to the constructor. Let's take a look at this. In this function, spread in constructors, I'm showing you how we create a date. So generally on line 17, we do let dt equals new date, and you pass in the year, the month, and then the day. So if we spit that out, we'll see 15th of November, 2019. Then on line 20, I'm going to set a date fields array to 2019, comma, 11, comma, 15. Now what I'm going to do is pass, using the spread operator, that array to the date function, and that will now create a new date using these array values. And as we can see, it came out the same. We got 2 different dates, but 2 different ways of expressing that constructor. One of the places where spread really shines is when we have function arguments. If you remember the apply method, we would generally pass several parameters to the apply, but we could also use spread in that case, and even on your own functions as well. Let's take a look. So look down at line 22. We have this function called multiple params, and I've got argument 1, argument 2, and argument 3. All I'm doing inside of here is doing a console.log on each one of those arguments. Now take a look up on function spread for function args on line 15. So we can call multiple params the normal way on line 16, where we just do multiple params, open parenthesis, 1, 2, 3. Now, the other way to do it is to use the spread operator. So if you were to have an array set up with those parameters you need, you can call multiple params, open parenthesis, dot 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 args. And that's just the same as line 16. So you can see the exact same thing happens. I like the spread operator because sometimes I do have an array of things that I do want to pass, and it would make it a little bit easier for calling some of my functions. Another useful feature of the spread operator is used to perform a shallow copy on object literals. Let's take a look at how this works. In this function, object literals, I've created a literal object called product, and I assign it a few different properties. Down here on line 26, I let prod2 equal to, in curly braces, right, that's an object literal, dot 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 product. So again, what it's going to do is take each of these objects and perform a shallow copy. Now this is very similar to the JavaScript object.assign method. We then can change one of the newly copied objects, right? And we could actually change one of those properties and see if it now is a by reference or by value type of thing, right? But since we're doing a shallow copy, I think you already know the answer. On line 32 and 33, I'll print out each of the objects, and then we'll display the changed value of the product ID from both objects on lines 37 and 38. So here we have our 2 objects. The one did indeed get copied. Only the second one, the copied one, did get changed. So it does actually a copy property by property from one object to the other. In this module, I showed you that the spread operator greatly simplifies your code. It makes your code more concise, It can actually make your code a little bit harder to read sometimes though, and it's really not supported by all browsers yet. So you may still have to resort to some of the older JavaScript ways of doing things, but as this gains more and more traction, it will become more used, and I would suggest you be familiar with the spread operator. In this course, we saw how the switch statement can simplify our code, that the for in and for of provide us very nice specialized looping, that JavaScript contains a good variety of math, logical, and comparison operators, and short-circuiting can make our code more efficient. You now know how to handle exceptions in your JavaScript applications. Type of and instance of operators provide us a look into our variables, and the this keyword changes based on scope. We also saw that the spread operator, while useful, can make our code a little bit harder to read. I really hope you enjoyed this course.